and gentlemen, campaigning in the longest ever election in India has finally come to a close. And one really can't blame our politicians for opting for some rest, especially for their vocal cords, right? Amongst them is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has headed for the southern tip of India's mainland to meditate for the next 45 hours. In Kanyakumari, there he is. Prime Minister Modi is at the iconic Vivekananda Rock Memorial, where he will be hoping to follow the footsteps of the iconic sage and probably indulge in some rest and reflection in silence. But before the Prime Minister went silent, he did drop one last political headline: the claim that the Congress did not build on the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. In an interview to a television news channel, the Prime Minister claimed that the world was largely ignorant of the father of the nation till 1982, when the British biopic Gandhi was released. Now, the Congress has laughed off the statement, claiming that it is Modi who has actually tarnished Bapu's legacy and that followers of Godse won't understand Gandhi's legacy anyway. Let's listen in to Rahul Gandhi.
शाखाओं में जिनकी वर्ल्ड व्यू बनती है वो गांधी जी को नहीं समझ सकते, वो गोडसे को समझते हैं, गोडसे के रास्ते को अपनाते हैं। गांधी जी पूरी दुनिया के लिए एक इंस्पिरेशन थे। मार्टिन लूथर किंग जूनियर, नेल्सन मंडेला, एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन, ये सब लोग गांधी से इंस्पायर हुए। हिंदुस्तान में करोड़ों लोग गांधी का रास्ता अपनाते हैं, अहिंसा और सत्य के रास्ते पे चलते हैं। लड़ाई सत्य और असत्य के बीच में है, हिंसा और अहिंसा के बीच में है। हिंसा के लोग, असत्य के लोग ना अहिंसा को समझ सकते हैं, ना सत्य को समझते हैं। धन्यवाद।
Now, before we break down the Prime Minister's comments, let's revisit the movie he has cited. The biopic Gandhi, released in 1982, covered 56 out of the Mahatma's 79 years on earth. Directed by the legendary Richard Attenborough, it starred Sir Ben Kingsley as Gandhi. The film, in fact, is amongst the most acclaimed in history, winning 8 Academy Awards and 5 BAFTA Awards. But here's where the Prime Minister perhaps got its facts wrong. The Congress input into making of the film is not just undeniable, but extends for almost 2 decades. Attenborough first met then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and his daughter Indira Gandhi in 1962. Nehru approved of the film and promised to help support its production. But his death in 1964 was one of the many setbacks that the film saw. Attenborough then again attempted to resurrect this project in 1976 and managed to receive $10 million in funding from Prime Minister Indira Gandhi through the National Film Development Corporation of India. And when the film finally released in 1982, a grateful Attenborough dedicated the film to Jawaharlal Nehru. And then there's the claim that the Mahatma's legacy was shaped by this film. Bapu's statues, ladies and gentlemen, are all across the world, from California to Brussels to London to Toronto, and most of them were installed much before 1982. Even the ones which were installed post-1982 can't be attributed to the release of a biopic. For instance, the one in South Africa was unveiled in 1993 by Desmond Tutu, a known follower of Mahatma Gandhi all his life. But to set the record straight, let's speak to the flesh and blood of Bapu himself, Tushar Gandhi. You know him. He's the great-great-grandson of the Mahatma. He's joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Tushar Gandhi, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Good to have you on the show. My first question, I think, is an obvious one. You've, by now, I'm fairly certain, heard the big statement that the Prime Minister has made. I want to know, what was your first reaction?
Shreya, the first reaction when this statement of the Prime Minister was brought to my notice was I just burst out laughing because it was such a ridiculous statement coming from the Prime Minister that if I hadn't treated it with humor, it would have been the most frustrating thing to listen to, and it would have prompted me to bang my head against the wall. That we had such a ignoramus as a prime minister. But I opted for the humorous thing. And the first thing I did was I burst out laughing. And the person who had called me was quite surprised that, I was laughing so loudly about it. And then, of course, I realized that this was not really a guffaw on the part of the prime minister, but this was like everything he does, there is a strategy behind it. And I realized that the shrewd politician that he is, I'm using the word shrewd because I want to be polite. There are more better words to describe his method of working. But I realized that this was a shrewd politician who, in the final phase of his own election, he wanted to divert the attention and make the opposition busy so that in the last 36 hours, he could get away with whatever he wanted to do and what did not have to face any more of the very serious uh, allegations of failure on his 10-year tenure. And he has spectacularly achieved that objective. The whole opposition and people like me in the past 24 hours have just become busy
Okay.
commenting on this ridiculous and, a statement that just reflects poorly on him. And we've almost forgotten that this man
Okay.
has been a spectacular failure in 10 years.
Mr. Gandhi, essentially what you're saying is that this was no faux pas. The Prime Minister knew exactly what he was saying. But the larger point that I think the Prime Minister was making is that the BJP and the BJP, especially under him, is the one that has, who has ensured that the world knows about Gandhi, that they made Gandhi go global, first of all. And the Nehru-Gandhi family was too busy showering praises and awards on themselves and did little to support / embellish the legacy of Gandhi, of Mahatma Gandhi. That's, I think, the charge that is being made.
1969, when India celebrated the centenary of birth centenary of Bapu, the government funded the entire year-long celebration that happened, and it was truly, reaching out to the entire world without gimmicks or things. It was I witnessed the celebration, and for that 1 year, as a 9-year-old, I had, it was just a non-stop celebration of Gandhi happening across India and the world. So it wasn't as if the Congress didn't. And the example of the film that the Prime Minister gives to illustrate his point wouldn't have seen the day of light if it hadn't been for the finances provided by the Congress government. Richard Attenborough wanted to make this film right from 62 onwards, and he found no backers till Indira Gandhi assured him of financial backing, and the NFDC part financed the film and became a co-producer of that film. So even there, he is very wrong because the Congress partly funded this film, and it was only after the Congress government assured Richard Attenborough of funding the film that he found Hollywood studios to back his project, and the film was ever made. So even on that aspect, the Prime Minister has just exposed his complete ignorance or his panache to ignore facts and just lie through his teeth about things.
Not said this, but when it comes to the subject of Mahatma Gandhi and the Congress dissing his legacy, it's often said, the BJP often says, that if the Congress had any love or respect for the Mahatma, उनको एक भारत रत्न तो दे ही सकते थे. I mean, Jawaharlal Nehru had a Bharat Ratna, Indira and Rajiv Gandhi have a Bharat Ratna as well, all given to them under their regimes, but not the man who probably deserves it the most.
Yeah, I'm sure the next salvo would be that, because that would also expose his complete, the BJP's lack of subscribing to the truth and the Prime Minister's complete ignorance and the blasé attitude that the Prime Minister has of being ignorant. When these Ratna Awards were instituted, it was a high-level parliamentary committee of the government and senior Gandhians of that time came together and said that there are certain iconic people who are way beyond these kind of medals and honors. And Mahatma Gandhi was, they said that, even a Bharat Ratna would be insufficient to express our gratitude to him. And that's why with a conscious decision, it was said that we will not demean his stature by narrowing it down to an award. He is beyond all these awards, and that is why he was never given that Bharat Ratna. So, but I'm sure one of these days the Dirty Tricks Department of the Sangh will come up with this also.
Okay, my last question to you. Were you a little surprised that Mahatma Gandhi made a grand debut in election 2024 at the fag end? Many people can say, what does M.K. Gandhi, who died in 1948, he's the father of the nation, what does he have to do with this election?
I was just waiting till the time, when this card would be played, because over the decades since he was murdered, in a way or the other, Gandhi has always been indivisible from the present of India, whether it is in ridicule or it is in idolatry. He has always cast a huge shadow on everything that India has ever done. And I was waiting when he would make his debut in the election 2024. And the Prime Minister very obligingly provided that opportunity.
Okay, Mr. Tushar Gandhi, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. Going to a quick discussion with my guests this evening. I'll request my guests to keep it short because this is going to be a short and sweet discussion. Sweet, I'm certainly not. Sweet, I don't think it certainly will be. Pradeep Mahar, leader of the BJP, joining us on the broadcast. Lakshmi Ramachandran is spokesperson of the Congress Party, and Mr. A. Sarvanan is spokesperson of the DMK. Pradeep Mahar, पहला सवाल तो आपसे ही बनता है. I mean, I frankly don't even know what to ask you, except the fact that here's a bit of data that the Prime Minister should have been given by his team before he made that statement. Forget the fact that we've just spoken about 5 iconic statues of Mahatma Gandhi across the world. 3 of them came before 1982, before the film was released. The fact also is from 1937 to 1948. Mahatma Gandhi was nominated for the Nobel Prize at least 5 times. So he was, I mean, there are enough facts and more to tell us that Mahatma Gandhi was known across the world way before 1982. That when he went to England, there were traffic jams there because people were showing up to see him. Newspaper headlines, every time he uttered a word, it made headlines across the world. Why did the Prime Minister have to say what he said?
Look, Shreya, the thing is this. It's not only about Mahatma Gandhi. It's about everybody who contributed to the freedom of our nation. There are many faces. Mahatma Gandhi is one of them. He was a prominent personality. Apart from him, there are other faces also. But what Congress did was, because these were the people who were responsible for bringing India from the British hands to the independent country, independent nation. So the way they should have been treated at that time, they were not treated. The way these faces should have been celebrated, they should have been given the honor. They were not given an honor. Rather than this, Gandhi, Nehru family, what they were doing is they were busy making their own personality bigger in the nation. They were trying to superimpose their personality over the people of India. Sometimes he was holding a child and putting a flower. Everything was covered. But why not Gandhi? Why not Subhash Chandra Bose? Why not so many other personalities? Where was Subhash Chandra Bose before,
But Mr.
after
Mahar,
independence? Why there are no stadiums in the
no,
name of Subhash Chandra Bose? Why are there? Wait,
I
wait a
give
minute.
it to
Let
the
me complete.
BJP. I give it to the BJP that they have. I give it to the BJP that that they have kept the legacy of Bose and Patel alive and done a lot for it. I agree with that. But my question to you wasn't that. आप मुझे घुमा रहे हैं. My question to you was very simple. If the Nehru Gandhi family was not interested
If I turn your question, right.
If they were not interested in the legacy of Gandhi, then why was it Nehru who actually opened his personal photograph archives to Richard Attenborough, the director of the film, when the film was released in 1982? He opened up his personal photograph gallery so that the film could be made. His daughter Indira Gandhi in 1976 gave the first $10 million to fund the film. If they were not interested in Mahatma Gandhi's legacy, they didn't need to do all of this, right?
Look, point is not this. Point is something different. You just said that BJP was able to maintain the legacy of these people. Means Congress murdered the legacy of Subhash Chandra Bose, of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. I mean, there has to be. I mean,
I'll let
there
Lakshmi Ramachandran come in. Okay, I've heard you.
There has to be two sides of the coin.
Okay.
If you are saying
I'll let
one side of
Lakshmi
the coin,
Ramachandran.
definitely other side of the coin exists.
I don't have too much time on this debate, which is why I'll let Lakshmi Ramachandran come in. Lakshmi Ramachandran, go ahead, please. We've already heard from your leader, but go ahead and respond to the sort of arguments that are being made on behalf of the BJP.
The only thing the BJP has done is pitted one freedom fighter against another. They forget that these people fought together, fought with unity, and they worked together and freed this country. Now, see, you listed, all the ways in which Gandhi has been celebrated world over, statues and libraries and people who have been inspired by him, and the public that thronged the streets of London every time he visited. You've listed everything. He was an inspiration for many other countries, Asian countries, African countries that were fighting for their freedom from colonial powers during that time. You've listed everything. But if there is one person who did not read or learn Gandhi, it is Prime Minister Mr. Modi. The world knows Mr. Gandhi, but Mr. Modi, who has come from the RSS school of hate, has not read or imbibed Gandhi's principles. If he had done so, that 10 years would have been so very different. 10 years of Mr. Modi's regime would have been so very different. He would not have ignored the poor. He would not have ignored the middle class. His economic policies would have been very different. The way he treated the farmers, he's betrayed the farmers, the Annadata of this country. Is that what Mahatma Gandhi taught him? Is that by ignoring the Annadata of the country, he has disrespected the Mahatma like nobody else. Look at the railways. Railways was the most extensively used mode of transport by Mahatma Gandhi. Today, the way the common people, the middle class and the poor are traveling in trains, they are being treated like cattle. Whereas inaugurate these inaugurating these luxury trains.
Ma'am. I'm just going to get in Dr. Saravanan as well. I understand the point you're making. I think you've made a larger point that Prime Minister Modi hasn't understood or imbibed the spirit of Gandhi. I get the point you're making. That's the larger point that the Congress is making. Dr. Saravanan, good evening. The Prime Minister is in your state today. So anything to say?
Good evening. Hi.
I was a little surprised that he brought in Dr. Martin Luther King. I was a little surprised because Dr. Martin Luther King was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi, yeah. See, Shreya, the Prime Minister, probably in the twilight of his career, June 4th is going to be a different script. Suddenly he realized there is one more Gujarati who's more popular, more adored, and more followed than him. So probably he thought this is the opportune moment to challenge that legacy, at least in India. I think that is why he made that statement. And I don't think BJP has got any moral compass or any authority left in them to speak about Mahatma Gandhi. They have two of them, a terrorist who was made an MP by the BJP who called Godse a patriot, and a union minister who said that Godse is the worthy son of the soil. When they have such people and Mr. Modi, who has never taken any action against such statements, what can we expect? We can expect only this from Mr. Modi. And there is also this element of diversion. Everything he did, he tried, did not work out in this election. This Hindu-Muslim, Muslim-Hindu, Hindu-Muslim did not work out. And the election commission, which was a mute spectator on all these things, is the great disservice. Today, Justice Kurian Joseph has come out and said that the election commission has done a great disservice to this country by allowing campaign on religious lines to go on unabated. And we have Mahatma Gandhi, who was for integration and for secularism, and we have someone, a prime minister, who has abused his office, abused to a great extent, whereas we cannot, nobody could have gone more vile than what he had done. So they have, one point is that they want to distract from their imminent defeat, and the other thing is that they have no moral authority to speak about Gandhi.
Okay. We'll see on the 4th on that, but we'll leave this debate there. Thank you very much, Mr. Saravanan, for joining us. Hope we'll be seeing you on the 4th as well. Pradeep Mahor, thank you very much, and Lakshmi Ramachandran, thank you very much for joining us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's a wrap from me. Thank you very much. Good night. My colleague Shreya Upadhyay joining you at the top of 9 with all the day's top stories. Do stay with Mirror now.